All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving the device back a foot so we can get a little bit longer ball flight. So we're going to be testing today with 10 feet of ball flight with the device sitting at 15 feet. So both the red tee down here on the floor is laser measured 10 feet to the impact screen, and then we've got the device sitting back here laser measured to the screen at 15 feet to give us that exact 5-foot distance behind the ball hitting area that we have. All right, and before we jump into today's demo, I did notice when I launched the app today that there was an actual update. And I usually always recommend, especially with new devices, when they come out in those first several months, you probably want to update it as often as you possibly can, because usually that's going to lead to better results. So we're going to jump in real quick and just run you through the update process on this thing. We will probably fast forward through most of it, just so I want you to see it, but we don't want to take up a whole lot of time here. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the main menu here, and then there's an option for update. All right, so it looks like I already have the latest app version running on the iPad, but there is another firmware update. And this is actually going to be the second update that I think we've had on the device since I've been testing the unit over the last probably 2 weeks. So at least that's something promising that it seems like we're getting updates rather quickly here. So we'll go ahead, we'll just click update. It's going to basically download to the device, and then it'll process. And then we'll get into this 10-foot demo, and hopefully maybe this is something that will drastically improve. If it does, if we see greater numbers after this update, I'll probably go back and even do maybe an 8-foot video and see if it's also improved at that distance as well. So we're gonna get into the demo now. Basically, like we've done in the same previous two demos at 8-foot, 9-foot, we're gonna hit 3 pitching wedges, 3 7-irons, and then I'm gonna try to hit probably my mini driver. I'll have to choke down on it a little bit because we are getting a little bit close in my room here to kind of a back half wall that I have for the stairs that go up to the next level. So we're gonna hit these 3 pitching wedges and then 3 7-irons, and then we'll try to find something that basically we can hit that will elevate ball speed kind of close to what we saw with driver in the other test. So just like before, we're going to try to hit draws with the first 2 shots, and then we'll try to hit a cut or a fade with the third shot. All right, so here's shot 1 with the pitching wedge. All right, so first shot here, it looks like we both started right. They actually matched on degree of side angle at 2.8 degrees to the right, and then we both picked up a draw. It's just that the Foresight had a lot more draw spin to the left at 1200 as opposed to the 101 that was on the SC4. But I would say at least the shot shape on this one was kind of okay. I mean, it didn't just come back hard enough to the left on the SC4 to qualify, I would say, for a match on this one. Much better contact on this one. The first one we were kind of thin a little bit. But unfortunately, it looks like we are going to have mismatching shot shapes on this one. We've got it as a push draw on the Foresight, and it looks like a push slight fade on the SC4 here. All right, so that's our 2 draws. Let's try to hit an intentional cut or fade here on this third one. Looks like we've got a cut on the Foresight as far as the tracer goes. Yeah, so we start left, and then we've got 601 right spin on the Foresight device. Unfortunately, we did start left, not as much on the SC4, but it still has a little bit of left spin on it. So again, this is going to be a shot shape that doesn't match for us. All right, so unfortunately, I feel like we probably, I don't know if it's the distance or if it's the update that we did before this test, but it looks like to me like we didn't really get better from what we were seeing at the 9-foot range. So we're going to hit the 3 7-irons now and see hopefully that they can improve upon what we saw with the pitching wedge. All right, looks like we got a little bit of a push draw with the Foresight. So yeah, we started a little bit to the right with about 467 left spin on the Foresight. We started a little bit further right on the SC4, but it does have at least draw spin to it back to the left there at 215. But at least it started in the right direction, and at least it did show that it was coming back to the left in a draw. All right, let's hit one more of those. That was out on the toe a little bit, so we're probably, yeah, definitely going to go further left here. All right, so on the Foresight, we did hit a push draw. It was out on the toe, so we had kind of a severe draw to the left here. Whereas on the SC4 Pro, we started off to the right, further right than what we did on the Foresight, and then it basically had almost a straight ball path or ball flight to it with just that right 65 spin there. All right, again, so another one that's not matching. We're going to try to hit an intentional like cut or fade here on the third 7-iron. And quickly we can see with the shot tracer that this one's going to be incorrect as well. Um, we did get the basically the pull fade like I was trying to hit on the Foresight side, and this one actually took off more straight on the SC4, and then it actually has draw spin on it, and pretty good draw spin as well. So this is a complete mismatch, unfortunately. All right, so again, after the 7-iron shots, I mean, it's not looking great. I honestly think we were doing better in the previous test, and like I said, I don't know if that's the distance we're hitting at, or if that is actually the new firmware that's on the device. All right, so we're going to try to step up the driver. I am going to hit my mini burner driver here. It's a little bit shorter than my Sim 2, and I'm going to choke down on it just so we can try to avoid hitting the back wall here. Probably won't be able to hit like a cut or a fade with this, so we'll probably just try to see if we can't put, 3, draws in the air basically. A little low on the face. Not terrible. I mean, that's kind of what I try to do. I feel like the content wasn't great, so it probably launched a little bit low. So that's just one, unfortunately, we completely missed with the SC4 Pro. Let's try to hit another one. I think it's probably just maybe because it launched low a little bit. See if we can get this to launch a little bit higher. A little snappy on that one. But at least the SC4 did kind of pick this one up. So both of them basically have it starting pretty well to the right, but we've got quite a bit of left spin on the Foresight, which hooked it back to the left there. All right, so we got one comparable shot of data there. So let's try to hit another one here. All right, looks like both devices caught it. So we're going to have another comparable shot here. They're both taking off to the right, and both are going to show with some draw spin. So we got a little bit more right at takeoff, basically on the SC4 Pro. And then as far as the draw spin, I think they both read the draw spin pretty close, pretty accurately here. All right, and then I don't know if the mic is kind of picked up on this, but on both of those shots, I've kind of somewhat clipped the curtain that I have on this back wall that's just a couple inches from the wall. So I know I'm getting close to it. So hopefully we can hit a better one here, but I will forgo probably trying to hit a fade or a cut just because I don't have the room to do that. And we'll just try to hit another kind of draw here real quick. Oh, it's off the toe. Yeah, I really started it well to the right. And because the contact was way out on the toe, it did come back to the left on the Foresight quite a bit. So as far as starting direction, I think they got really close. We had 11.5 on the Foresight, 11.1 degrees to the right on the SC4 Pro. However, the overall side spin was a complete mismatch here. So we had basically a draw on the Foresight, and we had a fade on the SC4 Pro. All right, so that's going to kind of do it for the shots in the demo today. Real quick, we're going to jump in. We're going to take a look at the spreadsheet, and we're going to kind of see how close this data was comparatively to the 8 and 9 foot test. Just basically going off of what I've seen, kind of like between the two devices here on the screens in the sim room, I don't think this is going to be as close as it was at 9 feet, which is kind of a shame. And like I said, I don't know if that's because of the distance we're hitting at, it didn't get any better, or if it's because we've got a newer firmware update basically on the device. We're going to start off with pitching wedge. We've got the 10-foot test that we just did here up top, and then the other two tests that we've done in the other videos below. Quickly, we can see that carry was worse in this test than the previous two. Spin was a little bit better. Ball speed, it's been really good through all three of these tests. And then shot shape also got worse with this test than it did in the previous two. So that got us a lower score here on average of a 1.92 on all of these shots compared to the 3.42 and the 3.5 that we had in the previous two tests. If we go on to 7-iron, we actually did a little bit better here than we did in pitching wedge. I will say our carry number got better than it did from the previous test. Ball speed was still really, really good. We had one average spin number in this test, so that was better than the last one. And then shot shape actually got worse than it was in the previous 9-foot test, so that kind of drug our score down a little bit, but it still was better than our 9-foot score test with our average shot accuracy score of 2.75 versus the 2.58 we had previously. Unfortunately, neither one of those are as high as what we had at 8-foot in the 3.42. Now moving on to driver, we ended up with an average accuracy score of 1.50, which was better than our 8-foot test, but that 8-foot test was really, really bad. We took a step back here from the 9-foot test. So just real quickly, we got a little bit worse in shot shape from that test, and we got worse in carry from that test. Ball speed, we still had 2 green, so that kind of stayed the same. And then in all 3 of these tests, we were completely red when it came to actual ball spin. All right, and if we look at basically all 3 of these tests that we've recently done here, just kind of like the average score for each club and then the overall average for the test. This 10-foot ball flight test came out much lower than the previous 2 with an average score of 2.06, which is even worse than our 8-foot at 2.58 and the 9-foot at 2.83. All right, so these aren't the results that I was kind of expecting to see. I don't know if this was kind of caused either by us moving it back and giving it more distance, more ball flight. It's supposed to get better with radar the more ball flight you give a device, or if this was a direct result of maybe a buggy new firmware that we updated to before we did this test. I will probably go back and do a quick 8-foot, 9-foot test video just so that we can retest with this new firmware and see if we can validate, are the results worse because the firmware is bad, or are those results still kind of the same at those distances and this distance is just bad? That is going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you got something out of this, or at least like the content. If you did, please give the video a like. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. We are going to have some more videos coming up probably after the Christmas break with the SC4 Pro, but then also we're going to be moving on to some other launch monitors. Probably next up on the channel, I'm going to test out the Square Golf Launch Monitor. It might be the new Budget King, so we're going to try to figure that out. But I just want to say thanks again for watching the video, guys. Hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the next video after the holiday.